It's funny that I'm wearing a Tennessee Titans sweatshirt right now because this video almost reminds me of when the NFL draft happens and like a month later somebody releases a mock draft for the following draft and you're like, it's a little early. We just got this draft. Maybe let's see how this one ends up before we move on to the next one. But today we're going to kind of do just that. We're talking about the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, but specifically we're talking about my wish list, what I want to see for the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. Now, out of the foldable phones that you can buy directly in North America, so the OnePlus Open, the Z Fold 6, and the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, this is already my favorite of the three. I think it's a really, really great phone, but that does not mean that it is totally without its issues, and there are definitely a handful of things that Google just has to improve with the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. And I think that a good place to start is going to be with the software, because for me, this is the place where I think that you may think I'm absolutely crazy, but I actually think that they are in the strongest position. I know that my channel has a lot of viewers who absolutely love power user features, and those are the only things that I really think that the Pixel 10 Pro Fold needs to add to be absolutely top notch. We're talking about the obvious ones here, right? So we're talking about proper functional floating windows, and we're talking about adding a third app in split screen. Right now, this is as good as it gets when it comes to multitasking. You can have an app on the right, you can have an app on the left, but you cannot add a third app in any configuration. Now, this is my wish list, okay? So I would like to see a third application. Likewise, I would like to see a real, true, proper floating window. No, I don't mean that thing that you can do in developer options where you can do this freeform window that, I mean, kind of technically works, but if you try to open up another application, it's just going to cover it up. It doesn't actually work. So stop commenting that whenever I talk about floating windows. Doesn't count. Now, I do want to quickly mention that, I've talked about how these features are features that we want, people who are potentially power users, we would like to see them be added because the Z Fold has them, the OnePlus Open has them, and we want that feature parity here on the Pixel devices. But I've talked about how I'm becoming more and more skeptical about how the broader public actually sees these features, whether or not they actually care about them. I've cited many times that Google said that about, 42%, I think, 42% of original Pixel Fold users used split screen. How many people would then use a third window? It's going to be smaller than that, right? So we're talking about, 20% of people might actually use this feature. Let me put a little additional spin on this aspect of this, though. The other day, I had some company over, a family member who was a lifelong iPhone user. They were talking about how they were beginning to think about switching away from the iPhone. So of course I said, I think the Pixel is probably the best way for you to go. And I started showing them some features that my Pixel 9 Pro Fold has. And I didn't show them split screen because I knew that they wouldn't care about that. What did I show them? I showed them Magic Editor. I showed them how I edited some photos from the zoo to remove the fence that was obstructing the view of a rhinoceros. Ended up being a much more pleasant photo. I showed them how you could add things into the photo that would be generated. You could remove things from the photo, how wildly realistic that looked. I showed them Pixel Studio. I generated some quick images of a Charmander in a leather jacket. They thought that was absolutely hilarious. These are the features that I went to, and I could tell that they were doing something for them. They were like, wow, this is actually really cool. I knew that this person would not care about split screen. And I think that's what Google's doing, right? Like, I want these features, but the features that the Pixels already have, the way that Pixels already function is pretty darn good, especially if you aren't one of these super duper power users. If you are, you've probably already gravitated towards a Samsung or OnePlus device. So again, this is my wish list. I want to see them, but I can kind of see if we still don't get them a year from now, I can see why maybe Google doesn't think that they matter all that much, because I think to their target customer, I'm skeptical that they do. Most of the things I want to see changed or improved with the next version of the Pixel Fold are going to be hardware related things. Now, look, I will straight up tell you, I've told you this already. The Pixel 9 Pro Fold, compared to the Z Fold 6 or the OnePlus Open, it does have the most consistent camera of any of them. Of the three, it is the only one that I can pull out of my pocket, double-click the power button, take a photo without even looking, and just assume it's probably going to be a usable photo. The other two can occasionally deliver photos that I might prefer over the Pixel, but they also require me to make sure that I'm getting the correct shot, that I hold still for that extra beat to get the photo that I want. And they also both have a tendency to occasionally deliver photos that just look strange, where the color goes crazy. OnePlus does this, Samsung does this a little bit less than OnePlus, but it does still happen. The Pixel is just super duper consistent. It's a Pixel camera. You snap the photo and you know that it's good. That being said, there are some weaknesses with the camera, and I think that they do revolve around the camera hardware. Now, we're into a sticky situation here, though, because this device is very, very thin. So you want to put better camera hardware in here. That just means that your camera bump is going to get even bigger. And it's already pretty big. I don't think anybody necessarily wants to see them get all the way into that OnePlus Open territory in terms of camera bump size. But if doing that delivers a camera experience that is on par with something like the 9 Pro XL or the 9 Pro, I guess either way, I think I might be okay with that. I would love to see better camera hardware, a bigger primary sensor with larger pixels that can gather more light to improve low light photography, to improve video performance as well, which is still not quite as good as I would want. Granted, it's better than the original Pixel Fold, but it is still not quite as good as I would want. Those are definitely things I would like to see. In general, I think battery life on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold has been pretty good. I would obviously take better battery life, but it's not something that I'm like super bummed out about by any stretch of the imagination. But something that I would like to see for the next gen is faster charging. When I'm not using the OnePlus Open, I absolutely miss that faster charging, and I'm not expecting them to do 67-watt charging. Can we get closer to 40, 35, 40, 45? Can we get into that territory? Now, again, this is a sticky situation because the device is so thin that when you're charging really rapidly, it does generate more heat, and you have to have a way to dissipate that heat. But OnePlus has figured that out. So surely, Google, with your billions and billions of dollars, you can do the same. Let's improve that charging speed. Another place where I would like to see them improve a bit that doesn't really bother me all that much, but again, when I'm holding the Z Fold 6 or the OnePlus Open, it does feel a little bit better in this regard, is with just the weight of this device. It got a lot less dense than the original Pixel Fold, but it's still pretty darn heavy, and it is still heavier than the Open. It's heavier than the Z Fold 6, and so yeah, making this thing a little bit lighter I think would probably be a good idea. Let's keep trimming the fat a little bit. Don't do it if it means using lesser materials, but there's got to be something you can do to make this thing just a little bit lighter. In my early coverage of the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, as I was gathering my initial thoughts, one of the things I said was I didn't think that this was a particularly good-looking device. One of the reasons is because the hinge area to the left of the cover display is very, very large. Now, this is one of these situations where if you fix this by shrinking that area, you've also made the inner screen more narrow as well, right? You can't make this skinnier without making this skinnier as well. So there needs to be a, creative way to fix this. There needs to be thought put into how you actually address this. But that hinge area does just look a little bit weird, especially next to the Z Fold 6 and the OnePlus Open that simply do not have this sort of thing going on. So I'd love to see Google shrink that hinge, make this cover display look a little bit better. And these last two are things I actually just talked about in a video discussing how the hardware is holding up after, a couple of months of owning the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but basically it's this. The bezel on the inner display is very prone to scratches. It's just something that seems like it's almost unavoidable. They need to use a more premium material because it looks bad. It's not really a problem, it's a cosmetic problem, but it is still something that is a bit annoying to me. We also have the fact that the inner screen, when it's closed, seems to be touching. So one side of the screen is touching the other side of the screen. For me, that has resulted in micro scratches in that area. You can only see them in very particular lighting if you're really looking for it. So it's, again, not a huge problem for me, but it is a cosmetic issue, and it's something that they absolutely need to address because the other devices don't have these problems. So guys, with our eyes forward on the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, these are the things that I most want to see, and they are all things that I think are relatively realistic. If we want to absolutely just swing our bat and try and go crazy on a feature, let's have a desktop mode. We've seen rumors about this. We've seen things happening on the Pixel tablet. Give us our desktop mode, our DeX equivalent, and I would absolutely be enthralled with that sort of thing. But I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. What is on your wish list for the Pixel 10 Pro Fold? Let me know in those comments down below. Subscribe for more content just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.